Hi, I'm Mayor Dwayne Warren, and today we are continuing our series on directors in city departments. Our interview series has included a number of directors where we try to provide information about the departments. And today I'm with Director Laquana Best of the Planning and Economic Development Department. Ms. Best, welcome today.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let's just get right into it. Your department is very critical to the town from a revenue point of view and from a physical point of view because you manage the construction that's here in town. Give us an overview of your department. It's pretty vast. You have planning and economic development and a number of divisions within it. Please break your department down for us.
Good morning, and again, thank you, Mayor, for that introduction. Again, my name is Director Laquana Best. I am the Director of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Orange Township. And within my department, we have 5 different divisions that we are responsible for. Building and Construction Division, which we issue building and construction permits and certificates of habitability. We conduct UCC subcode inspections for all construction work, which is the Uniform Construction Code.
Okay.
We also oversee the Code Enforcement Division, which we ensure that all properties comply with the city's property maintenance regulations.
Right.
And we have our licensing division where we issue licenses for certain regulated businesses within the city and all of their activities. And we have the zoning enforcement division where we issue zoning certificates and permits throughout the city. And last but not least, our planning division, which is a little vast because we oversee the preparation and submission of grant applications and coordination of grant funds relating to community conservation, rehabilitation, and redevelopment programs, as we provide technical assistance and support to the city's rent leveling board and all other land use boards such as the planning and zoning boards by reviewing all of the development requests. We make planning recommendations to the administration, as well as we are responsible for implementing and preparing the master plan for the city.
Wow, a lot to do. Your staff is working all of the time. I want to get to the area where there's been calls to my office and to council persons, rent leveling board. What is that about?
So the rent leveling board is basically it's comprised of the landlords, the tenants, and residents within the town. And if there's any major issues such as an overcharge of rent, especially the seniors, because they have a certain criteria. If you're 65 and over, you only can raise your rent up 2% each year versus the regular 5%. So if anyone feels that they have been charged more than they're supposed to, they'll give our office a call, and then we will contact that landlord, that owner, to figure out what's really going on, get a copy of their lease, and then we go from there.
So I just want to get that number up on. Is that the number on the screen for the rent leveling board, or is there a different number that we need?
That is the number on the screen for the rent leveling board that you have, yes.
So just breaking down the rent leveling board a little bit more, all existing buildings in the town are under the jurisdiction of rent leveling. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And then if the landlord wanted to raise the rent above the 5% cap, they have to have a hearing before the landlord, the rent leveling board.
Yes, if you cannot settle it with the person from our office who would contact them, then yes, it would stipulate, then they would go before the board.
Is the tenant allowed to come and participate in that process?
Yes,
Do they get notices as well?
correct, they
Okay.
do.
And in order to contact the rent leveling board, once again, the number's on the screen. Please contact them if you have an issue as a tenant. Another issue that comes across our desk frequently is the condition of properties and those that are vacant and or abandoned. What is our approach to that?
So we do receive complaints regarding certain conditions of properties, whether they're vacant and abandoned or just certain properties that are not upkept as they should be. And then we would receive those calls, we would send out the inspectors who would go and inspect to see what the conditions are. We normally would give them a certain amount of time, depending on how egregious the case is, to rectify that situation. And then when we go back to return to check it, if it is not corrected, then we would issue them a ticket where they would go to court.
Is there a possibility, and we're looking into maybe legislating this, that when the code enforcement issues a ticket for a particular violation, is it possible for them to go back and post a notice of when the court hearing is, so that if residents wanted to participate, they could do that?
Yes, that is definitely a possibility that we can do that. And speaking of different changes, that is something that I am intending to do. We want to review and update our property maintenance code, which is chapter 156, and our code ordinance, just to find ways that we can make sure that the resident is getting the attention and just a fair chance of everything, and just that we have everything open and it's clear. And we also work very closely with the Department of Public Works when it's dealing with debris, garbage, certain things that, especially with vacant properties that no one is claiming.
Well, while you're on that point, there's a process whereby those properties can be cleaned by the city, and that the city can collect its fees and costs for cleaning that property from the property owner. Tell us about that process.
Yes, I was actually about to get right into that. So once that happens, once a work order is put in for the Department of Public Works to clean that property, then a lien would actually be placed upon that property.
That probably couldn't be sold or transferred without paying that lien off.
Correct.
And is there a way that we can collect on that lien through the foreclosure process as well?
Absolutely. There is a way, and we're working very closely with the law department and in doing that as well.
Excellent. We come into your office, and where are you located in City Hall?
I'm on the third floor, room 305.
And when you come into your office, I often see developers, contractors, and residents looking to get whatever they need done. But most come at least with the presupposition that there's going to be red tape and you're going to have to know how to navigate your way through. Tell us what your efforts are to help people come and navigate the various requirements in your office.
Well, I'm in the stage of now creating a brochure for the department so that they understand step by step what is needed for certain projects, and just so that they have a guide to get them through that from first start to finish.
Well, some people don't know. As a lawyer, I've been involved in representing developers and tenants on either side. Your office is governed specifically by state statutes and state regulations,
Correct.
in addition to the town's ordinances.
Yes, absolutely. The Uniform Construction Code.
That's a statewide code.
Correct.
And then you have our ordinances from Orange.
Zoning ordinance, yes, our 210, chapter 210.
And it's difficult to know sometimes if you're covered under UCC or if it's a particular zoning ordinance violation. How do you make that distinction?
Well, that is something that will be in the brochure that clearly separates which law it's enforced by, and so you'll be able to understand. And then obviously, we're always here to address any questions.
Tell me about fines and penalties. There are cases where people are doing work that they did not know they needed a permit for, and if there's an inspection, that inspector could impose a fine or penalty. How do I know what the fine and penalty is going to be? How do I pay it? How does it get adjudicated? And what if I wanted to appeal?
So there's a process, and my construction official, he's very diligent. He's very passionate about his job, but he's fair. So normally the violations usually start off around $2,000, but they definitely can be negotiated. The builder or whomever it is, the contractor would come speak with the construction official, and we would kind of get a reasoning of what actually occurred. And then once we educate them to let them know what you can do, what you should have done, we can move from there. And then we can, normally we may lower the fine, or we may just give them a warning, depending on the situation and depending if it's a person that has done this before.
So there's some situations where the resident just does not agree. they feel that they're being mistreated, that they didn't deserve a fine, they didn't deserve an inspection. How do you deal with those kinds of issues?
Well, Mayor, we definitely get that all of the time. And when that happens, that's when I have to pull everybody together, whether it be the law department, my construction official. I've even had to pull you into meetings, Mayor, at times, just to make sure that everyone is heard and that we have a fair chance at whatever, we allow the resident to explain themselves, and then we come to an agreement.
I like that. So, if those kind of issues happen, is there a way that they can contact your office and let
Oh,
you know if
yes.
they have an issue?
Yes, absolutely. Please call me directly, 973-592-8506. That is my direct city mobile number. And you can call me at any time with any questions or any complaints that you have.
But is your mailbox open? Is it full? Is it?
My voicemail is open. It's never full. I check my messages. I answer my phone. There's not even messages because I answer the phone.
And so we'll have her phone number up on the screen together with email address where you can contact Director Best. The planning division, you're charged with carrying out our vision for the town and its development. Tell me how that process works.
That's one of the more exciting processes here. Just being able to see a project from the beginning and go into fruition to see the end product, it's just an amazing thing. Currently, we have 7 projects ongoing. My department is one of the departments that's responsible for the most revenue within the city. And that's through our redevelopment, that's through our construction department where permits are issued as well. We have currently about $200 million in construction costs going on right now in redevelopment in the city of Orange. And if we were to actually see what that tax revenue generation would be, it would be about a little over $900,000 a year versus prior to them being redeveloped about $250,000. So that's over
75%
600,000.
increase. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Now, part of your job, you've agreed to expand it to include public input. And over the past years, you've gone out through every ward in this town and presented projects and presented the vision of the town. Tell me about that process, how that came about.
Well, it's really important to get the community involved because just as I said, they're the community and they should understand and understand what's going on in City Hall. It's a part of your vision, Mayor, just being transparent in everything that we do and having involvement within the community.
Do you plan to continue those as you unleash the other projects that you have on board
It's
now?
necessary. We have to in order to continue to move forward with the vision that you have. We want to just make sure that the community knows what's going on.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and ask whether or not the community may come out to the groundbreakings that we have scheduled coming up.
Yes, the information will be on our websites, Channel 35, just so that you can see firsthand what we are doing.
Zoning. What is the role in zoning?
It's to ensure the safety of our citizens as well as the structures that go up. We want to make sure that they have the right regulations, and we want to ensure that there are no illegal dwellings. So that is a major factor within zoning.
So just, I want to walk through the process of being a small developer. I want to develop a 4-family home. I've acquired my property. I now want to build. Can I just start building on the property?
No, you'd have to
What is my process?
first you'd have to come speak with our zoning officer with a somewhat of a drawing just to show what you would like to do. He would see.
Do I need full-scale renderings, which cost
No,
me thousands of dollars?
not for zoning approval. You do not. Just the drawing, just a sketch.
So my initial is a sketch of what I want to build.
Correct.
I meet with the zoning officer.
Yes, and then
Where's the zoning officer located?
room 305, City Hall, which is the 3rd floor. 973-296-8419 is the zoning officer's number.
And who's the zoning officer?
Kafani Allen.
Fonnie Allen. We have the name and number and his email address up on the screen. So I meet with the zoning official with my sketch.
Correct.
Then what happens?
He would determine what zone it's in because within each zone, there's different regulations of what you can do here, what you can't do here. And then if it's something that's permitted, you can go straight to receiving your permits from the building department. If it's something that is not, then you may have to go to one of either boards. The planning board if it's in a redevelopment area, or
I want to assume it's not permitted because I'm skeptical. I don't like red tape. I can't fight City Hall. Let me assume that it's not permitted. What's my next step?
you still have to go to the zoning officer no matter
And the
what.
zoning officer tells me either I can do it or I can't do it.
Exactly.
In the case he
Where to
tells
go
me I
from
can't do it, then what?
Then he would direct you to the land use board that you would have to go and submit your application and for approval.
So I get to the zoning official. He says, no, I can go to the zoning board for relief, correct?
Correct.
If they agree with him and they say no as well, then what do I do?
Then you'd have to go through the next step, which is the court processes, which is out of our jurisdiction.
Okay, I have to go to the courts. Let's say the zoning board says yes, then what?
Then you're able to, once you get your approval from the zoning board, then you would be able to submit your permits from the building department.
Okay, now I get to the building department. Where's that located?
That's located on the third floor, room 305.
So and when I get to the portion where I want to get my permit, who do I ask for?
You would ask for Alexandra Reyes, and her number is on the screen.
So her number and her email is on the screen. And do I have to pay anything?
Yes, there.
I'm
is
sorry,
a
let me
fee.
back up. When I get to the zoning official, do I have to pay anything?
There's $100 fee, application fee. Yes.
Do I have to pay anything when I get to the zoning board?
Yes, they have an application process as well, depending on the type of project it is. There's application fees and an escrow that you would have to establish.
Okay, and then I get to where I want to get a permit. Do I have to pay at that point?
Then you would submit your application, and then once they determine what it is that you are doing, then they would give you the amounts for the permits.
So the fee is based on what I'm building.
Correct.
And I put my application in, I pay my permit fees, and then what?
And then you would receive your green light to commence your building construction.
Okay, so I built my building. Are there any other inspections that'll come during my building process?
So through each phase of you building the project, you will need inspections from our building inspectors,
And generally those are,
our electrical, plumbing, building, and fire inspections.
if I pass all those inspections, I can then complete my building.
Correct.
And when can I start renting it out?
As soon as you receive your certificate of occupancy.
Now, what is that?
That is the certification that shows that you've adhered to all regulations for a safe building, and that you can have, whether it be a residential dwelling that people can move in, or whether it's retail.
Do I have to pay for the CO?
Yes, there's a fee for CO as well.
Once I get my CO, then it's all the city's out of my life and I can just rent my building.
Yes,
Would I ever see the city again after that?
I'm sure you will, depending on depending on what type of project it is. If it's a retail, there's annual fees when you have to renew your license. If it's residential, depending on how many units, you'd have to see the rent leveling board, because there's a certain amount that you would need to contribute as a residential property owner.
That's for the landlord, not the tenant.
That's for the landlord, correct?
And are there annual inspections of,
There's inspections
project.
only when you have someone new moving into that dwelling. So
Okay.
anytime you have a new resident, you'd have to get an inspection to make sure that it's up to code.
if I'm building a large project, a large residential projects, am I still subject to inspections from your office?
Yes, there are annual inspections that are needed, whether it be elevator, fire inspection, just to, again, adhere the safety of the residents.
Okay, so let me just wrap up with a few things I really want the residents to know about. One, if there is an issue with their building, they contact your office.
Correct,
And
yes.
that number is on the screen and they speak to, who do they speak to?
If it's issue with a building,
Yes, I don't have heat. There are certain conditions that are bad in my unit. I have rodents.
you would contact Linda Drummond, and her number is on the screen, and email address.
Okay, and she'll get an inspector out to my
Yes,
dwelling.
she'll get the address, and then she'll send the inspector who's for that particular area out to the house.
If I want to do some work on my home and I don't know whether or not I need an inspection, who do I call?
You would contact Alexandra Reyes in the building department, and her number is available on the screen as well.
And if I have issues with the amount of rent that I'm being charged,
You would contact Hanifa Norman.
okay. And then finally, you don't deal with tax payments at all?
No.
Okay. Parking permits, do you deal with that at all?
Yes, parking permits, certain areas, certain streets throughout the city, you have to have a parking permit, and you would contact Hanifa Norman. Again, her number is on the screen.
Is there a fee for that?
There is no fee for parking permits.
Okay. And how can I have one for everybody in my household?
Yes, as long as they bring their their driver's license and their registration, and they have to be a member. They have to live in the house, in the dwelling.
And where is that office located?
Room 305, City Hall.
And is that name and number on the screen as well?
Hanifa Norman, yes.
Thank you very much. You have awesome task and awesome responsibility. How is it that you come to this job and you're able to deal with the so many facets of the public, from professionals, developers, all the way down to residents who just are moving into the community? What kind of experience got you to this point?
Well, first, I am from Hillside. I went to Temple University where I received my political science degree. I also studied abroad in Italy for a few months as well. And then when I came back home and I graduated, I furthered my education and received my master's degree in public administration at Keene University. I did start off working in the public sector. Then I went on to private for a few years, and now I have returned to the public sector.
Tell me what kind of training you did after coming. You didn't come to this position as director.
No, I did not. When I initially came to Orange, I was the deputy director for this department. And I worked in that capacity for 8 years until being appointed by the mayor and then also confirmed by the council as director 2 years ago.
And what kind of training have you gotten since you've been on the job? Any professional training or certifications that you've achieved?
Yes, I've had various trainings. I've received my planning and zoning administrator certification from Rutgers. I've also received my zoning official certification from Rutgers University as well. I've taken classes and received my certification in real estate development at New Jersey Redevelopment Authority. And I've participated in various community efforts in Orange, such as the backpack giveaway. Also attend a lot of the Orange Chamber of Commerce events here.
Excellent. Laquana Best, thank you for your service, and we look forward to you. I hope this was informative, because this is really an area where we have a high concentration of contact with residents and other customers. So I hope it was informative. Please take the notes on the names, telephone numbers, and email addresses that were put on the screen. They'll stay up for a while so that you can take a hold of that. Come on down one day and visit Director Best in the Office of Planning and Economic Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.